Hello, welcome back to a podcast with the River Valley Adult Learning Alliance. My name is Meredith Martin Moats. I'm the executive director. I said last week I was going to try to come up with a better name for the podcast. Right now I was calling it Community of Learners, which that's going to be after the colon. I'm going to try this name out. You guys can tell me if you like it or not. But I'm going to call it rhizomes, which if you're not a plant person, you might not know what a rhizome is. But a rhizome is a kind of root system so plants that tend to get large and grow under the ground, they grow by rhizomes. So, it's one of the reasons that makes certain kinds of grasses so hard to get out because they're interconnected. But anyways, a strong root system is kind of the idea. So I'm going to call this rhizomes, a community of learners, because I want to think about this podcast as a way to think about all the community connections that pull us all together, that help us keep learning. So we're doing this twice a month, and thanks to River Valley Town Square and to Eleva and to Obi for inviting us to do this. So first, before we get started, I have to tell you a little bit about the Adult Learning Alliance, and then we're going to talk about something really fun today, the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. Dolly's here. Kristy brought Dolly. Always wanted to talk to Dolly in real life. So, but the River Valley Adult Learning Alliance, our mission is to create and sustain a community of lifelong learners in Pope, Johnson, Franklin, Logan, and Yale counties. But in all actuality, we focus mostly on Pope and Yale, and we do have some outreach to the other counties, Johnson, Franklin, and Logan. We help adult learners meet their goals, their learning goals, so that looks really different for each person, but that can include one-on-one tutoring for people working toward their GED, workforce readiness skills like resume building, filling out online applications, figuring out how to use a computer, so digital literacy. If you know someone in your family who really needs digital literacy, especially like an older person who's struggling to use their cell phone or computer or something, we can help with that. We do a lot of English as a second language, helping people either learn beginning level English or also helping people who may already speak English want to increase their English skills in their reading and writing. Family literacy, which is what this is focused on. Citizenship, and anything else that someone might come in and ask about, we try to help. So we're always learning. We try to sort of break down the barrier between here's the teacher and here's the student, because we have this mentality that everyone is always learning. So we come together to help one another. Okay, so one of the projects that we're working on, and I'm so excited about this, it's really new. I want to first say thanks to the University of Arkansas Community Literacies Collaboratory. They're the ones who funded this for us. But the idea is we're working with River Valley United Way's Dolly Parton Imagination Library. If you have kids, you've probably heard about the Imagination Library. But first of all, I just want to kind of center people in what we're doing. So Kristy is the executive director at United Way. Tell us what is the Dolly Parton Imagination Library?
So the Dolly Parton Imagination Library is a program that delivers one free book per month to kids aged birth to 5. So the month that they turn 5, they get an off to kindergarten book, and in the interim, they get age-appropriate, brand-new books that are selected by the book committee annually, and they get those directly in the mail with their name on it.
So awesome. And we brought some samples today of some of the books, grab some. We'll go over these a little bit more in a while, but this is one of my favorite ones because I'm like, yes, I also feel this way.
A little emotional.
Little kindness. Here's a Dolly Parton one. And here's like her coat of colors. Yes. Anyways, sweet, like super sweet books. Really fun. And like my kids are older now, but like I know that when my kids were younger, like I was always struck by how wise some of the kids' books are that we would read together. And I was like, I know I'm supposed to be reading to you, but I feel like I'm kind of being taught right now. Yeah. But tell us a little bit about, like, if somebody isn't familiar with it, walk us through the steps. Like, you've got a kid or you've got a grandkid or whatever, and you're like, I want to do this for my child. How's that work?
Well, as soon as they are born, you have to wait until they're born, until you have their date of birth and their name. Their guardian can go on to imaginationlibrary.com and sign them up to receive the books. And depending on when you register them, it could be 6 to 8 weeks before you get that first book. And so what happens on our end is I go in and I approve them. I make sure that they are in our service area, and then I approve them, and the book order processes at the Dollywood Foundation, and it also, the books mail from there. So I'm definitely not mailing thousands of books per month myself. We just help raise money to pay for the books. So they mail them out in groups depending on age. So some kiddos will get their book very early in the month and some later. The first book that they get when they sign up is Dolly's favorite book, which is The Little Engine That Could. And then the rest of them are age appropriate and based on, when they're born. And the book list changes every year. Mm-hmm. So if you have a kiddo that's born this year, your kiddo that's born next year will not get the exact same books because the books change each year. They have a book selection committee, and they change the books each year. And if you have trouble getting your books, if you're not receiving them, then you let me know, and I go in and check it out and troubleshoot and see what we can figure out. And then from there, they should have a library of 60 books by the time they start kindergarten.
That's so cool. I did not realize they change each year. So yeah, so if you have multiple children, you're going to have a big library of lots of titles by the time.
Exactly.
So cool.
Unless they're twins, they're not going to get the same books.
Gotcha.
Yep.
That's really cool. You mentioned something that me and you've talked about a lot, and I know you talk about in the community a lot, but there are misconceptions. Does Dolly buy all the books?
No, she doesn't. Dolly does not buy the books. Local donations pay for the books and the postage, and Dolly pays for everything else. The foundation pays to mail those thousands of books and to negotiate prices and to manage all the technical back end of the database. The only thing I do in the database is register kids and maintain our kiddos. So they pay for everything else, but not the books. That's up to your community to pay for those.
Awesome. And that's kind of how we got involved in partnering with this. And we're going to talk a little bit about what the programs look like. But so we're partnering with the Dolly Parton Library for Yale County specifically. Mm-hmm. Each county has their own. Is that true?
Yes.
Each county has their own sort of way of doing it. So,
yes.
So Russellville residents are in the Polk County. Mm-hmm. If you're from Darnell, Danville, somewhere in that area, you're going to be Yale. Mm-hmm. So we're working with the Yale County version, and we started talking a while, I don't know, 2 years ago? I don't know.
Right.
Sometimes it takes a while to get things
does.
together, around how we could be supportive, because at our organization, we serve adult learners. We only serve adult learners. We do really encourage people to bring their families because that makes their learning sustainable. But our funding at RVALA it filters down from workforce, and it is for adults only. But one of the things that we have seen over and over again, and the data shows us, is that the single biggest indicator for a child's learning success is like the sort of education level. And I don't necessarily mean education level and like how many degrees do you have, but the reading and writing and critical thinking level of their caregivers. Mm-hmm. So that overrides everything else. It overrides, economic reality. It overrides school district, all of that. Who's raising you at home and how much you're interacting with them and their education is the single biggest indicator. So for us, we see yes, we work with adults, but in working with adults, we are also helping the next generation of kids, because the more those parents are prepared to work with their children, that just kind of ripples out.
Right.
So that's all to say, we've been trying to figure out how we could partner together. So that's where the University of Arkansas came in. They have a really cool program called the Community Literacies Foundation. It's all about community literacy. And they were able to provide us with some funding to support, not pay for the whole thing, but support Yale County Imagination Library this year, and for us to put together some intergenerational programming. So here's the way that's going to kind of look, and then I'm going to pitch. I'm just going to tell y'all right now, I'm going to try to find more volunteers.
Yes.
So if you're watching this and you're like, this sounds cool, have I got a job for you?
Exactly. Got great news.
Right. You too can help. So the idea is that when parents sign up, they'll also get a letter about our services if they're in the Yale County. Now, if you're in Pope County, we're not working with Pope County yet. We'd love to, but we don't have the capacity or funding. Again, if you're like, I'd like to help make that happen, you just call us, because we would love for you to tell us that. But for right now, it's just Yale County. And the way it's going to work is we're going to partner with the Dardanelle Library, the Danville Library, and as of yesterday, we got it approved with Arkansas Early Learning, which is a Head Start program. Yeah. And so we will go to story times, the adults will read a story with the children and the parents, because our main goal is actually to reach the parents. So we will be doing story times and then asking the parents after the story is over, how might you read this book at home? What are some themes that you saw come up in this book that you'd like to touch on? If you've got a 1-year-old, okay, so maybe you're not going to talk about sort of the philosophical ramifications of kindness, but you could say stuff like, where do you see the purple here? What about the green? What was your favorite picture? But then if you get into like a 5-year-old, you can ask them like, what does it feel like when someone's kind to you? How do you know you're being kind to someone else? That really engages the kid in the learning, but it also engages their critical thinking skills. Because I think one of the things that I see with adult learners, this has nothing to do with intelligence. I think it has more to do with experience. We may be able to read all the words on the page of something, but the real test is, can we talk about it later? Can we take everything we've learned and then have like critical thinking around it? So that's what we want to really encourage in kids. And I know that, you know, if you didn't grow up in a home where people read to you all the time, or if you struggle with reading, like I really struggle with math, so I have a lot of empathy for people who really struggle with reading. Maybe you struggle to figure out, okay, I read the book, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do after that. I get how that feels. And so we want to have a process to where you come to the story time, and then the conversation afterwards is actually going to be for the parents. The conversation is going to be like, how might you, like this one, I feel like I need to use this one a lot, because sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm having a big feeling. So, you know, how might you use a book like this at home? You know, this might be a good book to pull off the shelf when your kid has had a really rough day through a huge temper tantrum and you don't know what to do about it. This might be the book for you. This might be the book for that night's story time. So the idea is we're gonna read with the kids and the parents and have a conversation with the parents. And so we're definitely looking for volunteer readers. We're going to work with some retired teachers, but we would love to work with more people who would be willing to come and read and visit with parents. So we'll get into that a little bit more. But since we're talking about the books, I'm wondering if you could tell me, what are some of your favorite Dolly books that you've seen over the years?
Well, you know, the Llama Llama Pajama books. My kids loved those, and I still love them. One of the reasons that I wanted us to start this, a decade ago, was because my kids loved getting books. They loved, and not every parent can spend that at the book fair. Absolutely. And I mean, and I'm definitely was like, one book, and then of course they're going to get their little trinket, but one book. So when we were able to provide these, it's the same books. When I saw that it was a lot of the same books that my kids loved, Corduroy, all the little kid books, and then, you have Corduroy.
We got Corduroy.
And all of those, I was, we want to get these books to everybody because they're the same ones that my kids loved. So, but definitely Llama Llama, Red Pajama. Yeah.
I love that one. Yeah,
so
it's
nostalgic.
Been so, I know, right?
Yeah.
It's been fun for me to look through some of the selections because some of them I recognize, and then some of my kids are all teens and stuff, and so some of them are new and I hadn't seen them, and I'm like, these are great, like that, a little emotional. Like that is a great, like that, like adults need that book. I know I keep saying that, but really we do.
It's true.
And then there's some about like Dolly, which is, and some of the amazing, sort of aspects of her story.
Mm-hmm.
So that, let's answer the questions that families might have around, is there an income requirement to sign up?
No, there is no income requirement. The only way that it is limited is by zip code and age. So you have to live in a zip code that's in Yale County, and, for the Yale County one, and then you have to be age birth to 5. And that is literally the only limitation. Dolly wanted the books to be available to everyone so that there would be no stigma to anyone receiving them.
I love that. And I think that's so great for parents too, because we all know that maybe you might not qualify for certain income related services, but you're still struggling to get by, and going out and buying a whole lot of books is not possible. And as much as we love our libraries, and we it's sometimes nice to just have them at home where you can pull them off the shelf, and you can let them read them, because the library books, even though sometimes Wendy would tell you, I don't always return them as good as I check them out. You're supposed to. And so that gives them a chance to really take ownership of the books, and to use them, and, not have to feel like they're so precious that they can't pick them up over and over again.
Right.
And I also like that around what we're trying to do with the story times is kind of the same concept. You might have a PhD in chemistry and come to our story times. You might be somebody who struggles to read, and maybe you think that you've got undiagnosed dyslexia, and you come to the story times. They're for everybody, because we want to, we really want to think critically about how can we use these stories at home, and have parents give it, I'm sorry, I always hit that mic, give parents time to talk to one another, like what works for you, or like a parent might have a question like, I really want to read with my kids, but they won't sit still. What do I need to do? There might be another parent in that room that day who's like, oh, I got a great idea. Or, like questions around language learning, which we're going to get into in a little bit. We really want, if you're in a bilingual family, we have come up with some good ways to include that. So, or you might be a monolingual English speaking family, but you're like, I only speak English, my kid only speaks English, but I really want my kid to learn Spanish, because I know that a lot of people listening probably already know this, but when they are children, they're like sponges. They don't have to even try, and their brain makes pathways for language learning. There are some misconceptions that kids will get confused if they're like 2 years old and they're learning English and Spanish at the same time. But the research has shown over and over again that that's not true. That kids will have the capacity to learn multiple languages. Now, there may be a short time period there where they will mix up words from different languages, but that's just because that's where their brain is. Like in the same way that kids always mix up words, even if they only speak one language, they mix up words, because that's just toddlers for you. But the research shows over and over again that they will just soak it up, that they will very quickly be able to differentiate between which language is which, and they don't even know. And now, like, as an adult learning Spanish, I work so hard.
It's so hard.
It's so hard. I work so hard, and I'm not even where I want to be yet. And but for children, they learn. And so the other aspect of that is, if you are growing up in a family that has both languages, we really want to encourage families to keep reading in Spanish, not just English, but in Spanish at home, because one of the things that I hear as a director is, especially from employers, that there are so many people in our community that are graduating from high school that are bilingual. They may not be biliterate, which is a really different thing. Like, you might speak Spanish all day long, but if someone asks you to write this very professional email to, the boss in Mexico, for example, you might have never written or read in Spanish, even though you're fluent in speaking it. So the way to learn that is to be at home all the time with like bilingual books, right? And with books in Spanish. So if you're a Spanish-speaking family, we really want to take this opportunity with this story time to be like, hey, learn how to read and write in Spanish too, because that is a amazing skill set. That's really, you already have a leg up in that, and parents that are monolingual, expose them I think one thing that's interesting, a lot of the kids in Darnell, even if their parents aren't reading with them, and they're only speaking English, they can recognize a lot of Spanish phrases because they're around it. So just continue to do that with your kids. So we have purchased some additional bilingual books to help go along with this program, because Dolly has 5, is that right?
I think so.
5?
Yeah. Each child gets one Spanish book a year.
Okay.
And I think they're looking to expand that within the next few years, but the focus will always be on English, but they will have more.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I would say also, just because I have conversations with adults, a lot of you are like, well, I don't actually want my child to learn Spanish or whatever. Again, studies show that the more your child can recognize other languages, it actually makes them better at understanding their first language. So there is literally like no reason to not encourage your child to.
No downsides.
No, there are no
negatives.
downsides.
Yeah, there's no negatives.
The brain is like, the brain loves it.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about people, like how maybe they can support this project. There's a couple of areas for us, and I'm getting into this a little bit more. We really need volunteers to help us with this program, but I want people to also understand. You might be like, I retired and I'm not going to read, or I don't like to read, or I don't like to do things in public. But maybe you have funding and you'd like to keep this program going. What can people do?
Well, any donations that are made to the Imagination Library programs, whether it's Pope Johnson or Yale County, 100% of that goes toward paying for books and postage. We don't take out any costs. Our board voted years ago when we started this to cover all the administrative costs on our side. So if somebody wanted to donate books, they can just make a donation. If they wanted to donate, some to go along with this program, maybe something else, just give me or Meredith a call and you can support it easily, super easy. You can even sign up for the card roundups when you swipe your card at the grocery store. And on the way our system is set up, if you text RVUW to 26989, it's going to send you a text back. You click on that and you can choose the Imagination Library right there. And then each month, your little roundups from your debit card, when you stop at the convenience store or the grocery store or whatever, it'll come and it'll be designated and go specifically to that Imagination Library.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
You just taught me something I didn't know. That is really awesome. So yeah, that's a great way. Because right now, like, you guys don't turn anybody away, right? If there's a need, then the kids get the books mailed.
Yes, and what we have done, we do get half of the cost of the books paid for through a grant from the Arkansas Imagination Library that we pay for, or that we apply for each year. We did have to pause registration last year because we did not have enough funding for the programs. We had, I think Yale County was paused for 6 or 8 months, and then Pope County was paused for an entire year just because of lack of funding. So as long as we have the funding for it, we don't turn anyone away.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, so if you're interested in this, providing that funding, it might not seem like much, but, I have to fundraise at, work, and somebody like, oh, $25 isn't very much. Well, if 4 people give $25, then it's $100. You have to think about, everybody can do something. And this could be a really good way. I talked about this with Misty in the first time I did an interview, but I think right now in the national landscape, there's a lot of conversations around what nonprofits do and how their finances work. And I always want to tell people, if you have questions, you should go ask, because people will literally talk your ear off.
We will tell you.
We will tell you, I'll be like, you want to see the checkbook?
Here it is.
Here, because nonprofits have to be transparent. So if you have questions around how this stuff works, ask people, because they will probably tell you more than you ever wanted to know.
And I did want to mention that 12 books per year for a child are less than $30.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it is, the postage rate increased this year, so it did go up just a little bit, but that's a lot of books for not very much money.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. And that's where
Yeah.
the Dolly Foundation can be, right?
Right.
She's paying for all the other.
Everything else. So all we have to pay for is the books. Yeah.
That's so cool. Another way you can support is, like I said, if you want to be a volunteer reader, we would really love to have multiple readers. We have a couple of people already lined up, but things happen, so we want to be able to commit to those story times on a regular basis so that parents can plan around it. And to do that, we need backup volunteers because you never know when something's going to happen, and we'd also like to give people a break, and it's really good for kids to get to meet different people and hear different reading styles and things like that. So if you're interested in doing that, Dardanelle, Danville, either of those libraries, just reach out to us and we will talk to you about that. And one of the questions I got asked the other day, which is a really good one, like, how do I know what questions to ask the parents? So that's where we're going to come in, and that's where myself and Alice, who works with us in the office, we're going to create a cheat sheet kind of for you to where take The Little Engine That Could, because you recommended that be the first book because that's the one Dolly loved the most. We have started to work on that. So we have a handout that will give the reader, as well as a handout that will go home with the parents. And it's going to give you some kind of questions to ask the families to talk about. So the one with The Little Engine That Could, my favorite question to ask is, have you ever worked really hard at something? And I guarantee you 4 and 5-year-olds are going to have a lot to say about that.
Yes.
Maybe even 3-year-olds if they're really vocal already. So we really want to encourage the reader to know that, you don't have to, come up with all kinds of ideas about what to talk to parents. We'll supply you with that. You can obviously add to it if you want. One of the potential volunteers asked me, is there a set thing that I have to do? No, you can read however feels best to you. You might come up with ideas that we never thought of, and that's wonderful. But there will be some kind of questions, and then that gives the parents something to take home and to put on the fridge and be like, oh yeah, let's go over these questions. So with The Little Engine That Could, have you ever tried really hard? That might be an opportunity for the parent to point out, I've tried really hard things before, and tell their kid a little bit about something that they're trying really hard at. We have a learner who's working with us right now, and he doesn't mind when I share these stories, but him and his daughter are both learning to read at the same time.
That's awesome.
She's 4, he's in his 40s. But, and that is probably, I would imagine, one of the most powerful things for his daughter, even though she's probably doesn't see it now. But when she gets to be an adult, she is going to remember that her dad was learning to read with her and how powerful that one, that's going to impact her forever. So don't be afraid to, if you're a person who's I never got my GED, talk to your kid about that, and then show them that you are doing it, because that's not going to make them feel like, oh, mom and dad didn't know how to do stuff. What they're going to see is mom and dad work hard to improve their education, and they work hard to take care of me, and they are brave enough to tell me their story and all that stuff. So anyway, so that's going to be the idea. If you want to be a reader, and we would love that. We would especially love to work with teachers if it's something you want to do. I know for teachers, a lot of y'all are on break, and I get it, so no pressure. But we are going to have some fun gift certificates and stuff like that for people who volunteer with us over the summer. And also, I feel like the teachers could give us some pointers. So just call me, message me. Like I said, this is just for Yale County right now, but if you're in Polk County and you're really interested and you want to see something like this brought to Polk County, we'd love to do it. Our capacity is very small, so we would need a team of folks to help us get it going in Russellville, but we'd love to do that. So the last thing I want to ask, I'll make sure I don't go over my time. So the last thing I want to ask is a little bit about, you had a really great idea, and we've kind of ran with it around some of the books. They get mailed to people, but the people have moved.
Right.
And maybe they've not left a forwarding address. They should, but everybody knows things sometimes you have to move suddenly, or who knows what, you don't have a forwarding address. So then you guys are left sometimes with books that don't get to where they were supposed to go.
Right.
So what happens then?
Well, we try to distribute them through programs that help, kids. We've given them out at daycares. We've given them to the schools for their AR programs. There's a vending machine, I think, at Two Rivers that's full of the books. But we are going to give them out at these reading events, and I'm super excited about that.
Me
Free
too.
books.
I know. I'm so excited about this. So when you come to the reading events, we're going to have books that you can choose from. And I was hoping they would be here by today. I ordered stickers that you designed. We have Kristy designed these really beautiful stickers that say where the book came from, and then you can scan it and get our QR code. And unfortunately, they didn't make it in time, but there will be a sticker like on the back of the book back here, so you can reach out to us later. And just also, we want people in the community to be educated about the fact that it's a collaborative effort, and that if they want to support it, if they think it's cool and they're like, oh, I really love this, then we would love for you to take that next step and scan the QR code and call us and be like, what can I do to help?
How can I help you? Yeah.
So the kids can always take home a book, and you'll be able to choose them because, like, as I've been noticing from the box you gave me, there's just tons of selections in all different age ranges.
Yes.
So parents will be able to pick one or let their kid pick one out. Well, is there anything else that you would like to tell people about the Imagination Library or about the process that you feel like people should understand?
Not necessarily about the process, I guess, just that, just the sheer number of families that have benefited from this. And yes, we have been, it's been a little difficult to get funding for particularly Pope and Yell County the last few years. And the thing that has kept us committed to this program is just the number of people. We started 10 years ago in Pope County, and we passed 250,000 free books that we have been able to mail in Pope, Johnson, and Yell County in the last 10 years. That is 250,000 books.
That is so cool.
I have chills thinking about 250,000 books. And then you think about all of the ripple effect, the rhizomes you talked about, how that has spread, and how many people in their families, and hand them down to their kids, give them to their cousin. I see them donated in thrift stores, and then the thrift store, like the Battered Women's Shelter thrift store, they sell those for $0.25 each or something, and then it's able to again benefit the community. It's I think a lot of people don't see the work we do at nonprofits and see just how much it reaches out, how far-reaching things are. And so to think about, if even 4 people heard each book, we have had 1 million stories from this program. So super excited about that.
That is so cool.
Yeah,
that is so cool. Yeah, and I see them around sometimes, and I think about how neat that is, because once the child who originally received them grows up, the books they're like heavy duty. And they get passed on, and they're good selections. I think that's the other thing.
Right.
We kind of pointed it out a little bit, but sometimes when you get free book programs, it's like, well, this is free because it's not so great.
Yeah, they're a little anemic.
But these are good.
Nice, these are good books.
They've
got the nice thick covers and full color printing and thick pages and
and inspiring stories. Like I feel like I'm giving a sales pitch, but I really mean it when I say like they're stories that I know that when my kids were little and I read with them all the time, there was so often where I would just think, I'm certain that this book was written for the adult. Even
absolutely.
Because I would just feel calm. Where I'd felt frustrated at the beginning. I didn't want to do a bedtime story. I was tired. They were grumpy. But then I'd read this book, and it would, give me this sense of calm that I didn't have before, because it would help me. It was so simple. The writing was so simple, but it would remind me what mattered. That my presence is what mattered. Being there in that moment, just slowing down and being with the kids. So these are all these like really high quality, like what we might call socio-emotional learning, like helping kids really understand, like, how do I be a good friend? How do I support my family? Like, how do I be a a person that I'm proud to be. So they're really cool. They have a really large diversity of kids in them. So like all different skin colors, different languages, different life experiences. So it's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I love that. And how many people are signed up roughly?
In Yale County, it's right between 700 and 800 books a month. It fluctuates, depending on the month. I think in April we had like 20 more kids sign up. So it just depends. And if you're listening before the end of the month, whatever month we're in when you see this, if you have a parent account, if you have a child that's receiving books, go to your parent account and make sure your address is correct so that you are going to get your books. The book order process is a month in advance, so
Gotcha.
it's processing tomorrow for the June books, so we want
Gotcha.
to make sure you got it updated.
Awesome. And if some of the parents who are already in there are interested in this and you're already using the program, you guys would make great readers. And also maybe we were thinking about maybe someday there could be like a parent book club that comes out of it. I know that, when you're a young parent, you're always really searching for other parents who also want to, parent maybe in a, not that the way our parents raised us was wrong, but more that, I know for me, like I really wanted to connect with other parents who were like, how can we break some cycles? How can we change some things that, for the better? And you'll be able to meet other parents who are also wanting to do that. And I think that will be really, really, really powerful. I've had a couple of people ask me too, like, what about high school kids? If you're a high school kid and you want to come read, we would love that. I know you need volunteer hours. So, if you love working with kids, then yes, please come on. Or if you prefer to work with the kids and you want to come maybe do a craft with the kids while the parents are having their book discussion, well, like, whoever you are, we will find something for you to do. I guarantee you.
Absolutely.
We will guarantee you something. Okay, well, awesome. That's all I have for today. But you've been listening to the Rhizome Community of Learners podcast. I think I'm going to stick with that name.
I like it.
You like it? Okay. So let me know. Yeah, but I think I like it too. And I like that you used it.
Look, I worked it right
you
in there
did
immediately.
It. I was like, look at her go. That's awesome. And if you have some ideas of people you'd like to see on this podcast, email me. I'd love to get some more ideas. In 4 weeks, we're going to have Suliana Hurtado, who's a ESL professional with the Russellville School District, come and talk a little bit about behind the scenes of an ESL classroom. So that's in a couple of weeks. So, but let us know what ideas you have. And thanks again to Obi and
yes, thank you so much. Thank you for
Square.
inviting me. Thank you.
Thanks for letting us work with you.
Absolutely. We've been excited about it for a while. Glad to see it happen.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Thanks.
Thank you.